Good evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblumen. You're watching the Theo Nightly video for the 27th of August here in 2021, or we can just call it Earnings Tuesday. Sure feels that way. What we're going to look at in tonight's video is an update on these expected move levels and the earnings levels. That's assuming you're already positioned. Because we like the evening videos to give you actionable advice, I'm assuming you're already in a position like a butterfly or some type of sold premium position before these earnings. So these won't necessarily apply to you in the positions other than checking what the outcome was. Now, if you are an intraday trader or want to play something using this type of logic, given when a market goes down, and we'll come to all these discussions in a moment, into the earnings-based expected move, if you find the stock at that price on an intraday basis, that in the future can be a long setup to play a bounce or a rally or a reversal into that intraday target. The same is true if you find yourself into the upper edge of the expected move on an earnings play. And again, this is Don's earnings indicator from his class on profiting from earnings and earnings expected move logic. Now, butterflies or delta neutral strategies can be used. But again, this is myself. I am a directional trader, so I like to use directional biases to edge or get edge on intraday or short-term swing positions. So the logic will be the same as we go through the bulk of these stocks. And we will be noting this earnings straddle type of pricing and how that gives an earnings-based expected move to the upside and the downside. So keep that in mind with the logic as we go through these conversations. Starting with, by the way, this is our days until earnings watch list tool. There are a lot of ways to get which stocks are reporting earnings. This is just one of them. You can do scan functions here in thinkorswim, or just use days to earnings in a column and put that on a watch list. I've taken the screen here off, but you can have a watch list right here for ease of click and ease of finding out which stocks are playable. So I will take this off the screen and we'll go through these. Starbucks, Microsoft, Mondelez, Amgen, Texas Instruments. There's two Googles or Alphabets, CapitalOne and Visa. So let's get started. So Starbucks has an expected move earnings play into 122.37. Now that won't come into play because that is up here. So that's not in motion. What is in motion is this 109.93, which is, let's just call it 110. That's not really coming into play at this exact moment. So Starbucks in turn, and I'm not going to discuss what beat, what hit earnings. I am only talking about directional movement of the price and what that means for intraday and short-term swing traders if you had butterflies, if you had premium sold or calls or puts purchased or whatever strategy that you have. I'm not going to discuss the earnings, but if that is of interest to you, then you can go inside the Analyze tab and take a look at what the earnings report was, what the outcome is, and of course, any type of economic data or the News tab to get exactly what those numbers were. So just for the sake of the video, which is only about 10 minutes, let's get into it. Starbucks does have an expected move play down to about the 110, but again, you could find this stock into this on the intraday basis, or it might not hit either of them. That's just the name of the game, how earnings are played. Microsoft is having the exact opposite take place, wherein we are seeing it, we get its expected move play. I actually drew these here. So I drew some trend lines on Microsoft, and that is before the video started. So it's about 248, let's say 249, and we'll extend that out right here. And that's how you can get these daily chart indicator tools, daily chart expected move tools to come up or show up on intraday charts. It just takes a price level or a trend line that you draw on the daily chart, and you can compare that on an intraday chart. Same logic with drawing trend lines or price levels. So the downside expected move is about 249. Well, Microsoft did go down. It is trading to the downside, but it's not quite at that level. So should we find in real time tomorrow that Microsoft continues, and of course we don't look at the time frame, but as the market opens and as Wednesday session comes into play, if we find Microsoft is into 248, that could be a target achieved and could see rotation or a reversal up away from it. Now 275 was the upper bound, but as of this video, which is a little bit after the close here on Tuesday, that's probably not going to be in play. It is a downside reaction for Microsoft shares. Now just kind of going quickly on these, Mondelez has been all over the place. It does not have that large of an expected move. It is not that volatile of a stock necessarily, and we can see it's 61.12, and that is up to here. So Mondelez did hit, it's our first one at the moment here, to hit that expected move and already come down from it. Again, this is directly after the earnings and the aftermarket or post-market activity. Next is Amgen. We can see that it is volatile as well. A larger price stock or higher price stock, but has resistance into this 260 level, and the expected move takes it's a wider play for the next month and front month strangle price or straddle price, and we see a wider range. But 243 to the downside, which is here, and here's how we'll draw that trend line. That's going to be the lower bound. That will show up on your intraday chart. So Mondelez, Amgen, AMGN, is now trading at this moment into the lower bound of this expected move. You can even see it here, 37 is a deeper type of target, but that will be a focal point for any type of traders with positions on, taking them off with profit, and that can be what creates these moves. Traders who did get short, when the stock falls and gaps to the downside to the target or some type of lower level, they may decide to buy and cover their position. Well, if other traders see the market into that expected move or into some sort of downside target, if they don't have a position on, they might decide to buy too. And that alone is going to potentially create movement in the stock. So Amgen is something to watch early in Wednesday's session for a type of bounce off of this particular 243.50 print. Texas Instruments, and this is what happens with earnings. That's why it's good to have a butterfly or some type of option position, sold a condor, sold a spread, sold something with respect to trading, and that way you have the risk clearly defined. A lot of traders can get burned or can get caught up on the wrong side of a move, although sometimes it benefits a position if there is a large gap after the earnings. And with the stock, you can't really exit the position as you're looking at this. The option contract shall be fine with a hedge or spread type of logic. So that's the difference in options versus maybe stock. Trading a move in earnings is subject to a potentially large gap. Sometimes, again, that will help your position. Sometimes it will hurt the position. Now, for Texas Instruments, we do see some downside activity, and the downside target, again, we'll draw that line on the chart just for reference, and I'll keep these on my thinkorswim platform, but it's about 179. Now, that will show up down here, not there. But again, if Texas Instruments finds itself trading at that level on an intraday basis, or if we open up and we're here, we could see it push to that level. So that could build some intraday type of bear flag or bear trade logic. And once we achieve the target, it becomes a will it hold or will it break? Holding would be the dominant thesis for a bounce, but a break would just open up this share price or any share price to lower prices yet to come. But that would be a floor of support to target and potential turning point. CapitalOne Financial, that is a financial stock that is a little bit higher on the earnings. So it closed the session about 138, almost 139. And if you let these levels print and populate, there they come. That's trading up in terms of targeting. We'll zoom in. How to do that is get the little tool here and click on with the mouse the left side of the panel. And that way you can zoom in on the current pricing. So that takes us to about from 138 to 148 or down to 129. Given that we're up, we're not up that much. In fact, we're up to about here. So that stock is going to, unless something changes, trade about the same that it closed at. So that's an earnings swing and a miss, neither to the upside, at least of this recording, nor to the downside. And those levels may not come into play at all for the market. Visa is up next, which also is a financial stock. And it takes a little bit to populate the levels on the chart. So we can see the Visa is rallying directly after earnings. There they are. So targets to the upside would be 240 and 50%. 240 and 50, which is up here, clearly not being hit at this moment. Again, same logic. On an intraday basis, look for it potentially to trade up to that level. And I think that will be new all-time highs for Visa, at least new 52-week highs for this particular stock. Now, we have Google or Alphabet. So this one is getting a boost. This one is highly volatile after the earnings play. So where are we looking? What is the expected move? What is in play? What is going on? So we see it here. This is a good example of how playing premium or playing butterflies or playing some type of strategy that targets the expected move. Sometimes when you hit, you're playing a low outlay of capital, but if it hits, you may get a large multiplier or different tactics or strategies. There's not any one way to play an earnings outcome or outcome position. So for Google, we do see, we'll just zoom in on this, and that is expected volatility plays to about 2,422, and that is roughly here. The current price after hours jumped, leaped to the high, at least at this moment, of about 2,412, just a little bit shy, not that far away. Now that will be a focal point, again, 2,422 into Google or Alphabet in tomorrow's session. Now that's a quick overview. That's a lot to handle. But again, these levels play into intraday tactics. Before the bell, before tomorrow's session, we're going to have Boeing, General Dynamics, and then after the bell, it's going to get interesting. As if today was not interesting enough. It was. Apple, Facebook, Qualcomm, and Ford will report earnings after the bell tomorrow. You have a chance to play positions in those if you wish, if you find the pricing is right for your risk tolerance, or on the intraday chart when the market achieves those targets, expected move or option statistic targets. That can be, again, targets to play for if it is not achieving it, or reversal points. Intraday reversals may take place at those levels, and you can build trade strategies simply off of that. As always, be careful and safe. This is Corey Rosenblum with tonight's Theo video update, April 27, 2021.